tried it, never really.
Never get somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Of course it is. I'm ready if you guys are. Everybody ready? Sure, sure.
Is there going to be a glare? Do you think?
Probably.
I can try. I got it. Is that better?
We can kill the lights too a little bit.
Yeah, when you play the video, that'd be great to kill the front one.
Okay. You guys all ready? No, yeah, I got no place to be. It's Friday afternoon. Take your time.
We are going to stream this again, just so you know.
Okay. So are we.
Okay.
I gotta wait for them. You good? All right, everybody, we good? Okay, thanks everybody for being here. We're going to be doing our normal presentation for an officer-involved shooting. This one happened yesterday at 8:48 p.m. at 2029 Nevada. So the turnaround for this presentation is unusual. Being that it happened on a Thursday night, we didn't want to wait 4 days until Monday to get you this information. So I had officers work through the night and into the early morning to provide this information in a timely manner. Additionally, due to the fact that there was only one officer involved and only one shot was fired, the information was able to be gathered much more quickly than it would be on a more complex shooting. And additionally, this reiterates my commitment, the city's commitment, and the department's commitment to transparency and getting information out to the residents of Toledo as quickly as possible. So we will go ahead and start the presentation. You can see the ellipse there. That's 2029 Nevada, where the incident happened. The suspect is Benjamin Stephen DeVerna. As you can, this is an older booking photo. He is still in the hospital at this time. Again, he's a 44-year-old white male, last known address at this location, 2029 Nevada. His criminal history in Toledo: felony theft, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of drugs, receiving stolen property, disorderly conduct, and other traffic offenses. In Oregon, he has been charged with receiving stolen property, burglary, breaking and entering, theft, false information to a police officer, OVI, and various traffic offenses. Officer involved one, Officer Jimmy Bennett, 29-year-old black male, hired in December of 2016. He's working Unit 410, which is a two-person unit out of the Central District Station. He fired his service weapon one time, and he has no active discipline in his file. Officer number two, Candace Andre, 33-year-old white female. She was hired in July of 2019. Again, she was Officer Bennett's partner working Unit 410, two-person unit. She did not fire her service weapon, which when you see the video, she showed incredible triggered discipline and not firing, and you'll see when we get there. And again, she has no active discipline in her file. This is the 911 recording. It's about 4 minutes long. It's about 4 minutes long.
Emergency?
It's Joey emergency. I need 911 here though.
Yeah, what's the location?
2029 Nevada.
2029 Nevada.
Yes, it's domestic violence.
Okay, your first name?
Not calling for myself, I'm calling for my daughter.
Okay. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Joyce.
Joyce, are you there with her or no?
Yes.
Okay.
She's off it right now, but she said she'd be right back when no one's here.
What's your daughter's name?
Michelle,
Michelle. Who is she arguing with?
her boyfriend.
Do they live together?
Boyfriend. Yes.
What's his name?
His name is Ben.
Ben. Okay. Was it physical or just an argument?
Not this time, it's not, but he's not throwing the floor plenty of times.
Oh, okay. Is Ben still there?
Yes.
Okay. Where did Michelle go?
She probably just went down the street. She said she'd be back when the cops get here.
Okay. Anyone there need anyone there need medical attention?
No,
Okay. Any weapons out?
no, not that I know
Okay. Is Ben white, black, or Hispanic?
of. White,
What is he wearing?
blue jeans, I think a blue top.
Blue top.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Michelle leave in a vehicle or on foot?
A vehicle, I think.
You know what kind?
It would be a 2015, 2015, I can't think of my own car. 2015,
What color is it?
it's black
Black. Is it a car, truck, or SUV?
car.
Car. Okay. You live in a Honda, Chevy.
It's Chrysler.
Chrysler?
Chrysler 300. Chrysler 300.
Chrysler 300. Okay.
Yes.
And what's your phone number?
419
Mm-hmm.
346
Mm-hmm.
16.
Just waiting for an officer to come up?
Yeah, but she's down the, she's down the street. She'll be able to see him.
Okay. She just wanted to remove herself from the situation until an officer, correct?
Yeah, she wants him removed.
Okay.
And he keeps trying to take her truck. She says he can't have her truck, and he keeps saying that he's going to take her.
Okay. What's your phone number?
7.
All right, 2029 Nevada. That's a house, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I get an officer to you guys, all right?
Okay. You want to note that it's a one-way street now? Just a one block?
Nevada's one way right now.
Yes.
Do you have to come in from Dover or through Thurston?
So, Dover.
Dover? Okay.
Yes.
Is there a construction or
No, not that I know of.
why is it one way?
Because it's traffic in here, they go crazy.
Okay.
It's a one-way.
All right. I'll let them know, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Okay, the next thing you're going to hear is the radio traffic of shots being fired.
410 domestic argument, 2029, Nevada, near Thurston, 2029 Nevada Street, Joyce, versus daughter Michelle versus her living boyfriend Ben. Michelle separated herself, she's down the street in a black Joyce 300, black man. Ben is going to be a white male, blue shirt, blue jeans, still on scene. 2029 Nevada, near Thurston, 410.
Wrong start.
Two. 410.
I see a female in the Chrysler, female on their fourth.
Full treasure.
Thank you.
have the officer, have the commander, walking back to the house.
411, 410.
Unit 410.
Give us here.
There's closed, 2029 Nevada. 220, start that way.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Shots fired. 220, start that way, code 3. Do you need medical there? 211, I'll start you that way too. 405.
411, yeah.
411, I got help coming. I got fire ordered.
We got one in custody, you can flow through.
Got me one custody.
405, so they get another crew, do not slow anybody, leave them in the air.
Absolutely, sir. Air remains closed. Cruise code 3 till you get there.
411, be advised, you got the gun, numbers attached.
Copy. You have the weapon. No one shot. Hunting air remains closed. Hunting. Hunting.
Fort Jacobson, fire up, he is hit.
Copy. Sir, he was struck or shot? What then? Was he shot or?
Fort Jacobson crew is down, we got enough to clear them.
Yes, he was. Copy. Affirmative. One shot.
405 is good.
Hunting, sir.
Okay, now we're going to go to Officer Bennett's body-worn camera footage. For time purposes, we made it a little bit shorter. This is actually an 11-minute full video, and Lieutenant Lenhart will email all of you the link after the news conference, but we just wanted to, for time purposes, we cut it down. Again, this is explicit graphic video, not only what you see, what you hear at the end. Can you pause this for a second? I'm sorry, I meant to say something. What you're seeing here is the officers have already got into the home, already spoke to the victim, spoke to the mother who called 911. Now they're looking for the suspect, and they had told the officers he's hiding somewhere in the house. So.
Bring a fucking gun to the party.
I didn't bring a gun to the party. Promise you I didn't. It was in my fucking throat.
You good?
I promise you I wasn't. Had nothing to do with you. Promise me. I can't roll over. I can't even move.
That was quick. Ignacio, could you turn the lights on? So we slowed down and took still shots. This is the first thing that Officer Bennett saw, obviously, plastic gun. Left hand in the pocket, right hand here with the gun in his mouth. Now, the ellipse, he takes it from here and does this, and that's when Officer Bennett fired his weapon. That's where we recovered it. It is a Lorcin 380. It was not loaded. There was no magazine in it. But if you look at this firearm, that's the magazine well. That looks like there's something in it to me. And obviously the way the suspect had his hand, we couldn't see that anyway. Some final notes. This was the only call for service was this incident at that house. So we haven't been there before. 2 warrants have been issued for the suspect, 1 count of domestic violence and 1 count of assault. Additional charges may be issued pending interviews with the officer and the suspect. Suspect, again, the firearm was not loaded and he is still in the hospital and planning, or he is expected to survive. Now, a lot in these times where there's an officer-involved shooting, the questions are, did the officer issue first aid? Well, not only did the officers not think he was shot, I don't think he knew he was shot. He walked out, laid down. Officer Bennett's partner even said, no, he's not hit. And then after more investigations, you heard Officer Bennett say, get fire up here, he was hit. This is our 3rd officer-involved shooting this year. First one was January 2nd. We had another one January 18 when Officer Stalker was murdered, and yesterday. The officer who you heard with the questionable language at the end was not Officer Bennett, and I'm going to be talking to that officer's watch commander to address that. As in every officer-involved shooting, this is not done. There'll be a firearms review board. Internal Affairs will do an internal overview of the shooting to make sure that all policies and procedures were covered. And when everything is done, this will be presented to the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office for presentation to the grand jury. So this was, I don't want to say there's ever such a thing as a simple shooting, but 1 officer, 1 shot, and that's what we have today. So I can open it up for questions. The mayor joined us if you have any questions for him as well.
Where was the suspect hit on the body?
It went in a hip, it went through his private parts, and it is now in the other hip or buttocks area.
The officer, their body cams, I know you just got some new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Are these body cams part of the new group? Or
No. Officer Bennett has been assigned to operations since he graduated the academy, and he was given one of the initial body cams, so he's had his for years.
I noticed that they were working in a 2-man group. Mm-hmm. Is there a reason why? I know you mentioned before.
The areas in the city that are more centrally located, where we have more violent calls for service, we have 2-man units. And this happened in the east side, which all units are 2-man there.
And with it being a domestic violence call, obviously last December, I think it was, similar call.
Mm-hmm.
Quimano O'Neill was shot and killed. How are those domestic calls approached differently, whereas, with this one here, they were searching for the suspect in the home?
Domestic violence is probably one of our most violent and dangerous calls for service that we go on. As evidenced in the past 5 months, we've had two shootings. We're always on edge, not on edge, but our awareness is heightened. And when we're looking for a suspect and everyone in the house says, we don't know where he's hiding, that kind of tightens things up a little bit. And you saw going through the house how dark it was. All they had was their flashlights for illumination, and then to open up a door and see the suspect standing there. Now, Officer Bennett was standing in that doorway, which we call the fatal funnel. I mean, he's silhouetted right there, and seeing the suspect with the weapon in his mouth and then lower it down, he made that decision.
Is that where you have that homicidal and suicidal, in that split second you see the guns in his mouth?
Well, yes, and you notice that Officer Bennett didn't fire then. He didn't fire his weapon until he felt him and his partner were in a threatening position.
And Chief, if you could walk through the procedures, because some people, when they comment on social media or whatnot, will say, why did the officer fire if that person never fired at the officer? Walk through what your procedures are and why your procedures say that that person doesn't necessarily have to fire
Sure.
at your officers.
And that's always a question that I get asked. I know it may not sit well with some people. We do not have to be shot at or shot to return fire. We're trained that if we feel that our lives are in danger, or our partner or an innocent third party, whether that suspect fires his weapon or not, we are justified in using deadly force. And I don't think anybody looking at that screen, seeing a gun pointed at you, would not think that their lives were in danger.
Were you pleased with the amount of times and the force and the tone that your officers told the person to put the gun down?
Sure. De-escalation is obviously a hot button topic right now in law enforcement, and I lost count, 6 or 7 times, drop the gun, drop the gun. They gave this suspect all the opportunity in the world to simply drop it, and we simply responded to what that suspect did.
Are you still looking into whose gun that was, or?
Sure. We'll do a full trace on the gun. We'll get it, go through ATF and see whose gun it is. It might be, as far as I know, it might be his gun. I don't know that at this stage. The magazine, loaded magazine, was found inside the home, so we still have investigations. I mean, it happened at 8 o'clock last night, so we're still actively working this.
And what is your procedure on how many times an officer can fire? Are they shooting to a certain number of times, or until they feel comfortable? What is that procedure like?
We're trained to shoot until the threat is stopped. Officer Bennett fired 1 round, the suspect dropped the gun, hence the threat was over, and he was taken into custody.
3 officer-involved shootings, and we're 4 months into the year. I mean, how does that compare to previous years? I mean, comment on that if you could.
I don't think we've had this many in such a short time last year, but in the state of Ohio, in the past 24 hours, I believe there were 4, Sean, I was watching you at lunchtime, there was 4 officers in Ohio fired their guns in one day. So we're seeing a wave of violence through this country that I haven't seen in 30 years of policing, and it just goes to show us and your viewers how dangerous this profession is turning into.
The other officer-involved shootings that we've covered over the last several months, multiple officers have fired multiple times. This one, there were 2 officers there, and one of them fired. Is the national narrative creeping into their heads as far as use of deadly force, or is their training still keeping that in check?
That was training. You notice his partner didn't fire her weapon. He was inside the garage. She couldn't see him, and if she was going to fire, she would have been firing right over his shoulder. That would have been an unsafe practice, and she should be applauded for not firing. And Officer Bennett, he did what he had to do. He saw a threat, he reacted to it, and when the threat went away, he holstered his gun and took the suspect into custody.
If this had happened 10 or 15 years ago, you probably don't have that body cam like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel more comfortable these days that there are visuals of it, that there's audio of it, that you can show us this as opposed to 10, 15 years ago when you would just narrate something?
Absolutely. There's no more, with these involved, there's no more he said, We have the minute they turn the lights and siren on in their cars, this turns on and it runs. And we have a full narrative, and we know what happens, good or bad.
Could you repeat what was said at the end? I didn't catch what your officer said.
What did I
that you
say?
said.
Oh, something along the lines of he used the B word and said, get on the ground, you don't bring a gun to the party, and just something that was probably not necessary at that time.
And you said that was not Officer Bennett, that was a second officer?
That was a different officer. It wasn't Officer Bennett or his partner. It was a third responding officer.
And we're not identifying that other officer right now?
So don't know who it is right now.
I don't even know who it is.
Oh.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
All right.
You know, one thing, and this is, we don't even have to talk about this right now. I've been talking to Karen a little bit about it. I don't even know if you think this would be helpful.
Thank you. All right, thanks for talking. Okay. Thanks.
We only have one domestic violence detective, right? What's her name?
Yes.
Who's our DV detective? Domestic violence.